What's up? Welcome in on this hump day of the beginning of a new baseball season. I'm not going to lie, man. Netflix, you crushed it, knocked it out of the park. I thought the whole pregame, if you didn't see it, for Giants and Yankees, which is going to the bottom of the first inning, was absolutely fantastic. And it's weird. I haven't, and we talked about this a few weeks ago, I haven't been this excited for a baseball season starting in a long time. A lot of energy in San Francisco. That obviously helps for me. But it's just a baseball season that's full of so many questions. We're going to get into a bunch of that tonight. Vegas Mac will be joining me here in just a little bit. We've got plenty on the docket tonight. So feel free to comment along if you're watching along. And you should be. I mean, what else are you doing right now? If you're doing this right, you got a little Matty Vass, CC Sabathia, Hunter Pence on the Netflix broadcast. You got the game on and you're listening to us. We've got a huge weekend coming up, a huge week, if you will. We get the Sweet 16 underway tomorrow. We're going to talk about a little of that tonight, as well as a little bit of the NBA playoff push. We've got some interesting stuff happening at the top of the NBA. We're also going to kind of set the table for you on full opening day for Major League Baseball, which is tomorrow. I don't know. How do you feel about the standalone game, a game by itself, opening night, this new concept that baseball is rolling out? I kind of dig it. I'm not going to lie. No, it's not because my team is playing. It's just, I love the standalone game aspect of it. I think it's a pretty cool new development, new dynamic. And I'm kind of interested to see what comes out of this in going forward. But again, I think Netflix has absolutely crushed the coverage on this. So again, feel free to comment along if you're watching along. Follow us on all of our social channels at Mike Arana Show, everywhere but Snapchat, because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. Again, sign up for our newsletter, please. Makes me and the guys look good. MikeAranaShow.com/links, as I promised. Vegas Mac, welcome to the table, my friend. How are you, buddy?
Hey, you know what? Baseball season is officially underway.
Yeah, it's I was just talking about that off the top. I don't know how much of it you caught, but like legitimately, man, I'm Netflix has done a fantastic job with the coverage tonight. They, I think, have really knocked it out of the park. I'm kind of digging this, opening night thing here. And it's not because my team is playing. And you know what I think about the Giants and what I think the Giants are going to do. It's made to be a giant event, for lack of a pun there. And it's turned into a giant event, and I think it's been really cool. I mean, the way they've gone about it. And I love the fact tomorrow that there's quite a few games actually televised tomorrow. That's something else we've bitched at and whined about over the last couple years. It's going to get going right away in the morning with Pirates and Mets on Peacock. And then we got a whole day full of games, man. I love it. I love it. And I know this is Christmas time for you, even if it means the freaking Yankees are on TV.
Yeah, no, a couple of things. I did get a chance to watch a little bit of it, not a whole lot. But I think one of the things that you said the other day, and it kind of resonated with me quite a bit. You said you were talking about Netflix, and you said the one thing that Netflix has done from a sports perspective, very, very good. And if you watch any of their programs, they are really good at telling a story. And I think, in essence, that's what it is. I mean, I'll go back, guys who initially did baseball, radio guys, it's exactly what they did, is they had to tell a story. That's why Vin Scully was so good. He was a storyteller. He was a baseball announcer, but he was a storyteller. And so I really think that goes hand in hand, especially with baseball. As far as the opening night thing, I think it's kind of cool. I mean, we see it in all the other sports, right? I mean, football has their opening night. Basketball does. They, you pick the matchups you want to see, and you kind of go from there. So this is really the first time I've seen baseball do it. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out to my boy, Mr. Santa Maria himself, Matty Vasgersian, on the call tonight with Hunter Pence and CC Sabathia in the booth. Matty's going to get on a plane tonight after this game and be on the call for us West Coasters here on a 10:15 broadcast tomorrow of Freddie Peralta and Paul Skeens from New York with Al Leiter and Neil Walker on Peacock tomorrow. So quite the air miles for Matty Vast, and I love seeing him back on a big stage. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think T and I did, but I know you're on the same page here because we've had this conversation. Like the fact that Jason Benetti is the main voice of Sunday Night Baseball now, fantastic. I love Jason Benetti, and I can't wait to see Peacock back in baseball. And we don't have to wait long, man. It's first thing tomorrow morning. Let's go! I'm fired up for you. Know how I get with baseball. I'm fired up for baseball.
I know, and listen, I already have placed my first baseball bet on this game. You know where I went with this, right?
It's got to be a Devers bet. It has to be.
No. I went with. Remember last year we had our little special.
God, don't start me on this yet.
I got Logan Webb under 6.5 innings.
I don't know, man. He blew through him in the first inning. He's looking pretty good.
I know.
He looks like a Cy Young winner.
But that's my new favorite bet. Trying to figure out if pitchers can go a certain amount of time. So I got him. Yeah.
That's a fair question there by You Got Roz. I don't know. I'm interested to see how that whole development plays itself out as man, the shadows right now at Oracle Park are freaking brutal. Giants have 2 on with 1 out. Runners on the corners.
Already. Hey.
We got plenty to talk about tonight. Speaking of opening games, Mac, and you mentioned it, football having their opening games. Well, the NFL finally decided today that they were going to actually fix the conundrum that was, do you have the defending champs play the second game of the season or the first one? Well, we now know that the Seattle Seahawks will defend their championship opening on Wednesday nights with the San Francisco and Los Angeles game that's being played in Australia, broadcast back in the States on Thursday night, which is actually Friday morning in Australia. What a freaking disaster, but it is what it is at this point. So the last time the NFL opened a season on a Wednesday night was 2012 between the Super Bowl champion New York Giants and Dallas Cowboys. Was moved to that day to avoid conflict with a speech at the Democratic National Convention from President Barack Obama. So the Seahawks get their rightful opening night game by themselves. Niners-Rams will be the next night. I think that was the only way the NFL could have done it. I don't... I think one of the things that pisses me off about these multi-day games, Mac, that the NFL is targeting, we've talked about Thanksgiving Eve and all that stuff and what they're planning on doing. And granted, people are watching, so you're going to keep taking advantage of everything you can. But I think that's part of football is meant to be played on Thursdays, on Saturdays, on Sundays, and on Mondays. And that's it. Like, just stop right there. The Wednesday thing, I mean, I'm still going to be excited. It's going to be game 1 of the NFL. It's going to be a hell of a scene in Seattle, rightfully so. They're going to party it up. Good vibes in Seattle as we find out now that the Board of Governors in the NBA is pushing forward on the vote for expansion, which I know you're a huge fan of in the watered-down NBA that we're going to talk about here in a second, which obviously means we're going to get Seattle and Vegas. I was thinking about this today. If you're Vegas and you're going to be the other team that gets the expansion team in this, do you feel kind of slighted a little bit because you're coming in with Seattle in the same year? Like, Vegas is Vegas. We know it's an entertainment capital and everything, but it's like you're coming in with Seattle, and there's true basketball fans have been waiting for Seattle to come back to the NBA for a long time.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, but Vegas is gonna shine it up as much as they possibly can, like they did with the Knights, which they finally it's kind of funny that the Knights have had success on and off the ice. They really have, but I mean, I'm sure people know, but maybe they don't. Las Vegas has not been real kind to professional sports. They've lost more professional sports than probably most places have had. It's one of those things. It's very hard for them to have a strong home base because of what Vegas is. It's so true, and with people just going there. I think it'll work. I think we've seen it with the Knights, where yeah, some people complain that the barn some nights is full of with the other teams jerseys, but that's part of it. That's why they put that new stadium right down on the strip, is for that reason. So yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, I think everything is going to be kind of Seattle. Maybe it'll be a good thing for Vegas to kind of take maybe a little bit of a back seat.
Yeah, I can't wait to find out what the hell they're going to name the team in Vegas, is my curiosity. And if there's anything other than the Sonics as the name of the team in
Oh,
Seattle,
right.
that would be absolutely friggin' criminal. Speaking of Vegas, it sounds like Vegas is a done deal for the next Super Bowl that is yet to be awarded, so no surprise there. And we're gonna get into the NBA here, and we haven't checked in on the NBA in a while. We talked about the NHL. You mentioned the Knights. TJ's gonna have some thoughts on the Knights here right after our show is over tonight. So make sure you're on our social channels there. But we've got some interesting stuff going on in the NBA here. Not only from just a push for the playoffs kind of scenario, and it's really an interesting dichotomy when you look at the East compared to the West. And in the East, you've got a very compelling race from 6 to 10. You've got a very compelling race now with Cade Cunningham's injury situation on that number one seed. The Pistons, who are in action tonight, winning against Atlanta right now, have a 5 game lead over both Boston and New York and a 7.5 game lead over Cleveland. I'm really very interested because of how hot the Atlanta Hawks, the team that literally defines 500 basketball mediocrity, is 9-1 in their last 10 games, and they've gotten themselves out of a familiar position, which is the play-in tournament. Right now, a game lead over the 76ers. What do you make of the mess that is the East? Because we have the top of the East, and then we have all these teams, including your Charlotte Hornets, fighting for some play-in tournament games. I'm very compelled to see how the East finishes the season, especially with the Cade Cunningham situation.
So you're right. I mean, there is a jumble in there, but you know what? I really kind of, I looked at these teams and I went and put them into three kind of categories. I put them into the categories of contenders. I put them into the category of they could probably give you a good series or two. And then my third category was hell no, no way that this is going to happen. And let's start with my hell no category. Okay, teams that just are not. I mean, they may make the playoffs, but they're not a contender. They're not even. They're just there. Toronto, Philadelphia, Orlando, Miami. Not going to happen. They're not going to advance. They're not going to be contenders in that probability category, meaning I think they could probably give some of the contenders a good matchup, 6 game, maybe even a 7 game series. I put Atlanta in there, I put Cleveland in there, and I put Charlotte in there. And then in the final category, the teams I think are actually contenders in the East, I put Detroit, Boston, and New York. I think those are the only three that I really feel that can come out of the Eastern Conference. But listen, you brought up Atlanta. I don't have a bell. I don't have a whistle. I don't have lights. But it's time for a Mac fraud alert
Uh
on
oh.
these guys. Listen, yeah, 9-1. But let's kind of Mike. Let's kind of take a little look about who they actually have played in these games. Memphis, Golden State. No offense. They played the Rockets and they actually lost to the Rockets. They played the Mavericks, Orlando, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Dallas again, Philly, Milwaukee, Portland, Washington twice, and Brooklyn again. Holy crap. Sure, I get it. You've
Holy
won.
crap is right.
Right. I mean, I guess you've won games. Look on the other side of that. Before that big winning streak, they had lost 4 out of 5 to Miami, Charlotte, Minnesota, and Charlotte again. Listen, they're a fraud. This is not a good team. Yeah, they may be 9-1 in their last 10, but the bottom line is they're taking it. Listen, they're doing what they have to do. They're taking advantage of a part of the schedule that is just not really good. Let's just be honest. It's not really good. I just don't think they're very good. And again, you look at it. Any team that they played that has any sort of teeth, Houston, Charlotte, Miami, Minnesota, they haven't beaten, and they haven't even come close to beating those teams. An absolute fraud.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Atlanta has a lead right now, late in the third quarter, 91-89 over 94-89 over Detroit. But we know Cade Cunningham's not on the floor there. We've got some other interesting games in the NBA tonight. Oklahoma City and Boston just started the second half. That's a 4-point game there. Miami beating the living hell out of Cleveland right now. San Antonio beating the living hell out of Memphis. Not that that's hard to do. Can I get Luke Kennard one more damn point, Lakers, before you pull him off the floor here? Chicago getting blasted by the 76ers. Interesting as we hear North Carolina's push now for their new head coach that we were talking about. The number one name on the list for North Carolina, dreaming's free, as they say, Billy Donovan. Do you think Billy Donovan, not to side us off the NBA here, but it has an NBA tie. We've heard that maybe this is the last year for Billy D in Chicago. Do you think Billy Donovan wants to deal with this day and age of college basketball after being in Chicago as long as he's been and Oklahoma City in the NBA?
But you say that. My thought is this: isn't it more like professional basketball now? I mean, you're dealing kind of with the money. You don't really have, a roster that is set from year to year. I mean, you basically have free agency every year in college basketball, just like you have in professional basketball. You don't have guys that are kind of hanging around for very long, maybe 1 or 2 years, and then it's kind of going. So I mean, it's one of those things. I almost think it's more like the professional game from that aspect of it. I don't really know how much recruiting, if you will, kind of goes into it. More so like it's how much money do you have to offer me, and what are you going to do for me? Kind of like the NBA.
Yeah, and I think it's an excellent point. And we know Carolina, from what we've heard, they're going to swing for the fences, literally, not to use a baseball pun. I got to check that. A funny story from my dad. He was on the way down to try and catch opening day after he was done completing. I can't even read this on the air, but he ran out of gas a mile from where he was trying to watch the Giants and the Yankees tonight. 3-0 in the second. The Yankees have gotten the web early here. But yeah, I think that's an excellent point there. And it'll be interesting to see how this Carolina search kind of plays itself out. I'm fascinated because I think that's the thing that we forget at this time of year is we are so close. I mean, we're talking about now the final 10 to 11 games, depending on who you're looking at in the NBA season. Like, I feel like the NBA playoffs and the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, they really kind of creep up on us quick at this time of year because there is so many different things like baseball starting and all that stuff going on that kind of you go, oh shit, it is playoff time here. Let's flip it over to the West here a little bit. We've only got two teams that have clinched spots in the West. Still a race for that top spot between Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Looks like at least San Antonio tonight on their way to a win. Oklahoma City is in a little bit of a battle with Boston. But you've got a 3-game separation there. You've got an 8-game separation between San Antonio at 2 and Los Angeles at 11. But what I'm fascinated with in the Western Conference, Mac, is we look at that 3, 4, 5, 6 race there. And there's great separation. And we've talked about this from, the Western Conference play-in side a few times. Those teams that are in the Western Conference play-in right now are the 4 teams that are going to be in there. It's just a matter of which order they all go. It looks like Golden State is planting their flag for 10th now that they have Moses Moody out for the rest of the year. If you didn't see that injury the other night, absolutely brutal. Another blow for the Warriors that they can't afford to have. But the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, and the Rockets all separated by 2.5 games in that 3 to 6 range. And that's a big deal here because right now, if we're looking at it, we've got Minnesota would be on the road, if you will. Denver would have the home court advantage there. The Rockets, who have no point guard, would be at the now red-hot Los Angeles freaking Lakers, who are 9-1 in their last 10 games. And it's funny because you look at the top of it. Oklahoma City, 10-0, 12 wins in a row in their last 10. 6 wins in a row for the Spurs, 9-1 in their last 10. Lakers lost 1 to end their streak, but they're still 9-1 in their last 10. And then, you look at some of the bottom feeders here. What do you make of that 3, 4, 5, 6? And I hate to say this, and I really don't think I've changed my tune, that the Lakers and the Clippers are both one and dones, and that's assuming that the Clippers can even get out of the play-in. This Laker team's starting to play really, really good basketball right now. And I think I might be getting an Arizona college basketball feeling with the Lakers here a little bit. Talk me off of that one, please.
I'm going to try to. I mean, yeah, they have played better. it's so funny. Of course, if we're going to talk about the Lakers, where it surrounds LeBron James.
Hmm.
How is he when Luca came and kind of everything was kind of surrounding Luca and LeBron wasn't playing. I think the Lakers, without a doubt, were a better team. And then every time it seemed like LeBron kind of came back and stepped into it, the Lakers kind of struggled. Again, we all know this. They're two of the same kind of players. They're players that want and need to have the ball in their hand. And they're still only playing with one basketball, so that's kind of a problem. And so, where does the play originate from? Do the plays originate with LeBron, or do they originate with Luca? And I think that's the biggest problem. But it seems like they figured it out just a little bit. But I'm still going to agree with you though. I don't think the Lakers are for real. I think come playoff time, I don't see enough in there. I think LeBron is going to try to do too much. I think it's going to be too much LeBron, not enough Luca, and the rest of the Lakers, and I think that's going to be their downfall.
Yeah, I absolutely do agree with you there. I mean, it's fascinating to see what's happening now. And we talked about the Lakers' schedule down the stretch, and it hasn't been easy. I mean, tonight they've got the Pistons, make out of that what, or the Pacers, make out of that whatever you will. But when we look forward at their schedule and what's coming up for them, they don't have an easy path here to hold on to that 3 spot. And I think the Lakers, could, in that volatility from 3 to 6 that we were just talking about, the Lakers could take a dive down to the 6th spot there and have to play, opening a series on the road. They've got Brooklyn and Washington in their next 2 after this, so cakewalks there. But after that, they've got Cleveland. They're at Oklahoma City versus Oklahoma City. They're at Golden State. That's really nothing. They play a game Phoenix team right now that always gets up when they play the Lakers here. So they have some tough games down the stretch here, and I don't know what to make out of them. The Rockets are another team. Like, anytime you've got Kevin Durant on the floor, it's an automatic bucket. But I saw in the 2 games when the Lakers and Rockets were playing each other, and this is one thing I'll give JJ Redick credit for immensely. They were running high double teams at Kevin Durant, trying to get the ball out of his hands to the point where Durant stepped over the half court line a couple of times just because Houston wasn't ready for it. And then when they were able to figure it out and they were able to break through and get past that pressure there, they had guys that just weren't hitting open shots. And there's so much pressure on this Rockets team for Durant to carry them right now without a primary ball handler. I think they totally screwed the pooch in not getting an available ball handler when there was one there.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I look for in any of the NBA playoff teams. I mean, here's the thing: if you're going to win series, you need to be able to win 1 or 2 games on the road. And so I I gave you Atlanta as my fraud in the Eastern Conference. If I have to give you a fraud in my Western Conference, it's exactly that Houston Rockets team. Look at their record on the road. 18-18. That doesn't cut it. That doesn't cut it. And for me, that's one of the big things. I think if you're going to be a contender in the NBA, you have to be able to win games on the road. That Rockets team is showing me that they cannot consistently win games on the road. I think for me, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and you look at the top teams, and if I just go from the top 2 teams in each conference, Detroit 24-11 away, 23-13 for the Celtics, 28-8 for the Thunder, 25-11 for the Spurs. The Lakers 23-14 on the road, and yeah, that when you look at the totality of the Western Conference picture right now, that 18-18 jumps off the freaking page for the Rockets because they are 25-10 in Space City, and it is typically a loud building to play in, a tough building to play in, but right now you're going to open with one more road game in a series if it goes to 7 than you will with one more home game.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I say especially in the NBA, I think being able to win 1 or 2 games on the road, every team that's won a championship has been able to win on the road, and so they have to prove to me that they can do that.
Yeah, let's switch over to more hardwood, and let's go to the college hardwood because the Sweet 16 gets going tomorrow night. We're going to focus tonight on our 4 games tomorrow in the Sweet 16. These would be your Thursday games. The first one that tips off in the West Regional, number 11 Texas and number 2 Purdue. Not a matchup I think a lot of people, most people even had there. Purdue 17-7 against Big Ten opponents, 12-1 in non-conference. They average 82 points per game. and they outscore their opponents by 12.1 per game. We know that the round that Purdue is most got in, if you will, is the Sweet 16. And I know you've been big on the Sean Miller Longhorns team at 21-14. You know how I feel about that. But I think one thing that hasn't been talked about a lot here, and is a motivating factor, if you will, for the Boilermakers here, is the chance to play in the Final Four right down the road from where they played their regular season games. And I, we make out of Purdue what we make out of Purdue for good reason when it comes to tournament time here. And I think that is a thing that's very much driving this team. What are your first thoughts on Longhorns and Boilers tomorrow?
Yeah, I like Texas getting into the Sweet 16, but we see it all the time. We see those teams that have a really good run in the first weekend, and then a lot of them kind of come back to reality. And I kind of feel the same way with this Texas team. And for me, we have to remember, Purdue is a team that was number one in the country for part of the year. Why were they number one? It's because of what they do on the offensive side. They are without a doubt probably the best, I think statistically the best team in college basketball from an offensive standpoint. And I don't like this matchup with Texas because of what Texas does with themselves defensively, with that drop coverage that they play from a defensive standpoint. I think Braden Smith is going to be able to. He's really good in those mid-range jumpers. He's good at dishing the ball. The way that Purdue can kind of spread you out. For me, this is not a real good matchup for Texas because of the way they play defense. I think Purdue's going to tear them apart.
Yeah, I would tend to lean on that side there, but one of the guys for Texas that's been really good for the Longhorns, especially in the two games so far in the tournament, is Matas Vodakaitis, the sophomore from Lithuania. He's been fantastic. We talked about Terrace Reed and what he was able to do for UConn on last night's show, but Vodakaitis here, he's got 40 points and 25 rebounds in the win combined in the wins over BYU and Gonzaga here. But I think there's a hell of a lot of pressure on him, especially with the defensive setup that you were just talking about in this game. One of the sides of this game I think I like a lot because, again, like you just said, how Texas likes to not play defense, I think is a better way to say it, is the over in this one at 147 and a half points right now. It opened at 149. It's dropped down a little bit, which I was happy to see today because I was able to jump on it at a lower number here. But I think this game's got overwritten all over it.
Yeah, I can see that. I was going to say, I'm going to give you kind of a key for this game when you're watching it tomorrow is offensive rebounding. If Purdue is spreading Texas out as much as I think they're going to be, and they are really attacking and dominating the offensive boards, it's going to be a long night for the Longhorns.
Yeah, absolutely. That'll be the first game that gets going. The second game that gets going, a game that nobody thought we were going to see, but a lot of bars in Houston are very happy that we're seeing it. This one will tip about 20 minutes later from the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. And that's number 9, Iowa, number 4, Nebraska. Nebraska, a 1.5 favorite. Your total on this one, 131.5. And we talked about Ben McCollum, Mac, and how he's literally like the Kurt Signetti of college basketball. All he does is win. Just Google him. This is a fascinating matchup for me. And I think the one thing that jumps off the page about this game to me is Nebraska's dependence on the three-point line. They are one of the highest volume three-point shooting teams in the country, and we saw Iowa be able to pull a chameleon, if you will, and beat Florida at their game. And if Nebraska's not knocking down their shots and Iowa rebounds the basketball like they did, I mean, you went in against the behemoth that was the Gators rebounding and out-rebounded the Gators. If Nebraska's not knocking down their shots here with the way Iowa rebounds the basketball and the way they like to grind games into oblivion, and it's horrible basketball to watch, and maybe I'm still a little bent and butthurt about it, but I'm fascinated to see this game. Like, I can't wait to see it. It is the styles clash of all styles clashes.
It's round 3 for these guys, and both teams won on their home court. March 8th was the last one. Nebraska won 84-75 in overtime. Iowa won 57-52. So what do I see from that? This is going to be a close game. Let's just kind of set there. That's my first thought of that. I think this is going to be a really, really close game. You're 100% correct when you talked about Iowa being able to go in against a team much bigger than them and handling the Gators like they could. And so, what do these teams try to do? Iowa tries to space you out from an offensive standpoint. It's exactly what they try to do. No better example than that last play when they hit that 3-pointer at the end, to beat Florida. That's what they're trying to do. But here's the counter to that is that as you hear what other coaches say. What other coaches say about your team tells you a lot about your team. And what people say about Nebraska is that from a defensive standpoint, they are well connected. They play as a five on defense, and we don't always hear that. That's not something
Mhm.
you always hear. This team plays as a connected unit on defense, and I think that's going to be this is kind of like, in essence, like it's kind of funny we talk about these two teams from a football standpoint, but it's kind of like that. It's like, who can control the line of scrimmage? It's kind of, that's exactly what this game actually comes down to. We have one team, and as coaches we say it all the time. What are you trying to do on offense? Trying to spread the defense out. Defensively, what are you trying to do to the offense? Take space away. This is a classic game of what basketball is supposed to be. One team trying to create space, one team trying to take it away, and whoever can impose their will on that is going to win this game.
Yeah, when you do a deep dive, especially over the last 10 games here for both of these teams, Nebraska a little bit better record at 7-3 as opposed to Iowa's 5-5 in that stretch, but 70.7 for Nebraska, 69.8 points per game. 30 rebounds for Nebraska, 27 for Iowa, 16 assists for Nebraska, 13 for Iowa, 7 steals for Nebraska, 5.9 for Iowa. I mean, it's about as dead even as I can. Two of my
Right.
favorite tweets I've seen all week, man. Somebody was like, "Hey, just out of like semblance of normalcy, should they start this game off with a ceremonial punt?" The other one was somebody put out the over under on this game is 31.5. Oh, sorry, it's just force of habit from football season. Which way do you
Well,
go on this one? Making a pick?
yeah, here's the thing. I think score is going to mean a lot to this. You look at that second game, or that first game, it was 57-52. So I think we can start to tell a lot about the score. I think, to me, the fact that Nebraska is able to turn you over. And that's it's been kind of an issue with Iowa, their turnovers. I think because Nebraska is able to turn you over a little more, I'm going to lean towards, I guess, one of my favorite colleges for whatever reason. I don't know, but I'm going to take Nebraska in this game. But I think it's going to be really close again.
I'm with you there. I got Nebraska covering the 1.5. I think we're going to see a little bit, as much as this is not a character trait of a Ben McCollum team. I think the high of beating Florida and the party that's ensued from beating Florida and that just emotional high, this just screams kind of set up for a letdown here for me. I think it's going to be a good game, but ultimately I think the shooting of Nebraska carries them through. Let's go to, I would say we have two heavyweight clashes, if you
Yeah,
will,
you can.
on the
You can.
schedule for the late games tomorrow. But this one is definitely the cherry on top of the sundae. This will take place in San Jose at the Shark Tank, and it's number 4 Arkansas, number 1 Arizona. A matchup I think a lot of us had, a lot of us wanted to see. Wildcats 7.5 point favorites in this game. Your over under is a high number, as to be expected, 166.5. This one's fascinating to me, Mac. I mean, there's no secret of which side of the fence I'm sitting on here, but I think this is we're looking at a game. If it lives up to the hype, will be the best game we've seen in the tournament so far.
You're 100% right. This is without a doubt a Final Four. This would be a great Final Four. It'd be a fun national championship. I think this is what we have. I think we have Arizona, which I feel has probably been one of the most consistent teams all year. And I kind of look into it a little bit more. I would say in the last month, Arizona's probably been the best team. I also think you have them going up against the person who's been the best player in Darius Akuf in the league. In college. I think he's probably been one of the best players. I the vibe I'm getting from him watching him over this weekend. I'm going to steal it. I'm getting a Kemba vibe. What do you think? I got a little Kemba vibe from him. The way he's going, assist, rebounds, scoring. I mean, as a freshman, he's doing non-freshman things.
Yeah, I mean, and I said this when we were talking about it. I'll have some more thoughts on it tomorrow before this game tips off. But yeah, I think, and you and I had this conversation last week, and I'm not talking about where he gets drafted. Some of the mock draft projections I've seen of where he gets drafted, I don't wish this on my worst enemy that he ends up in Sacramento with what could be the fourth pick for the Kings, because I think that's career suicide there. But he's shooting 44.6% from beyond the arc. And he does. I think the Kemba call on Darius Acuff is the perfect call because we talk about this all the time. There is a player, at least a couple, every year that carry their team farther than what a lot of people think they can go. And I've talked a lot about this Arkansas team. The inconsistency of some of the other guys around him, like Billy Richmond, can be very streaky. Right now, this guy is putting his team on his back. And I think there isn't a question that he's not the best college basketball player going right this minute. Is he going to win the Naismith Player of the Year award? I don't think so. I think that's going to go to Cam Boozer, almost like Carlos Boozer, and I think that's on the body of work. And we got to remember that's a regular season award here. But this matchup's going to be fascinating because when you look at what obviously Arizona brings to the table. And Braden Burries and Jaden Bradley, I think I'm very interested to see how Tommy Lloyd attacks Arkansas in this game and how their game plan is to try and make somebody other than Darius Acuff Jr. beat them, which is something that Tommy Lloyd and his staff have been very, very good at. I think another guy, a guy who is very undersung on this Arizona team that we've talked about a lot, I don't think it's anywhere near the credit that he deserves, is Toby Awaka. I think he's going to have a huge role in this game for Arizona in his backup role when he comes in to spell Koa Pete. Like, dude, I haven't been more excited about a tournament game in the Sweet 16 in a long, long freaking time. I cannot wait to freaking see this game tomorrow night.
Yeah, this is going to be very good. I mean, here's the thing with Arkansas. I mean, we saw them at the beginning of the year. I think everybody really kind of was really hyped on this team. I don't think they lived up to probably their regular season that they wanted to. I think that it was a little bit disappointing. And of course, this winning this game would be a huge, feather in their cap. But my biggest thing is I'm worried about what they're going to be able to do inside if they're going to be able to stop, the machine that is the big guys. It's interesting to say. We talked about this before. Years and years. Arizona was known as point guard U, and I think over the last couple of years they've kind of gotten away from that, and they have here. And I've said this before. What makes Arizona special is that they have more than one guy that they can count on any given night in order to get them through. And I think it's important for Arizona to come out to establish that dominance on the inside, and then kind of just let the game go. I'm surprised that it's at 7.5. I'll take the 7.5. I think Arizona wins the game, but I'll take the points.
Yeah, I've got Arkansas on the money line. I absolutely took them on the 7.5, and I think one of the keys here, I think the pace of this game early is going to be a massive key because when you're looking at the last 10 games body of work, which at this time of year I think is really important. We know that Arkansas gives up about 85 points a game defensively. They can get to 91 on the average, especially in their last 10 games, where Arizona more sits in like a 68 point given up and an 81 point average there. So this is definitely, like we talk about, styles make fights here. Can Arkansas force Arizona to play at their level? I don't know if I like the total there because I think it is volatile because of the two different styles that these teams like to play. But I think Trevin Brazil is the absolute key for Arkansas in this game. Their senior center, 6'10". He's got the size that they need to stop those Arizona big guys, which you mentioned is not something we usually talk about here. I love the Hogs plus the 7.5, and I love the Hogs on the money line here. Let's go to the last game, which will take place essentially a home game for Houston. And I love what Brad Underwood said today. They were asking him how he felt about playing Houston in essentially a home game, and he said, listen, man, I was a JUCO coach. I had to drive vans from Kansas to Mesa, Arizona, and back. Like, Brad Underwood is everything that's right about the current stage of, and Ben McCollum had some very similar comments too in his coaching background. But I think Illinois is game for this challenge. I don't think Illinois is scared to play this game against Houston, and I'm very interested to see how this one works itself out because We saw Houston going into the tournament not looking very good. We've seen them look more like the Houston that we expect to see them be going in. I know you're high on this Illini team. You have been all year. First thoughts, Cougars and Illini from Houston.
This out of the three other games that we're talking about, this is a clash of styles. You have a Illinois team that I think is a really really good team, offensive team, versus this Houston team that we just know is going to come out and wants to punch you in the face. And so I think that's the key. That's the number one key to this is how does this game start? Can Illinois handle the physicalness that Houston is going to bring? I think that's the key thing. Now, how do they do that? Well, the way Illinois plays is it's kind of like what we said with in that Iowa game as well. They like to spread you out, but how they do it is with their bigs. Their bigs are good passers. Their bigs are good scorers. Their bigs can handle the basketball, and that's going to be the key. How well do the bigs for Illinois handle the pressure? And we know there's going to be multiple guys on them. How do they handle the pressure? That's going to tell us everything we need to know right from the start in this game.
Yeah, and you're talking about, we've talked about the depth of the freshman class all year long in college basketball for good reason, because it's the deepest freshman class I think we've seen in a long time, and we've got two fantastic ones in this game in Keaton Wagler for the Illini and Kingston Flemings for Houston here. But, like you talked about some of the bigs for Illinois, and obviously David Murkovich is one of those guys, their second leading scorer, about 8 rebounds a game, and how they handle that pressure and, how they handle, which is going to be a road game for them. But I think if there's a team that's ready to do this and ready to handle that pressure, it is this team. But I can't wait to see the matchup between Wagler and Flemings in this one. Kingston Flemings, the viral moment after the first round game when he asked if he could take the nameplate, and they're like, no, not yet. And as he's walking away, Kelvin Sampson, like, that's such a freshman move there. He ended up getting his nameplate. It's above his apartment door here. But that matchup between Wagler and Flemings, I think, is obviously going to go a long way in telling the difference between this game. But I think if you're Houston here, obviously there's a lot of pressure on you. You're basically playing at home. The number one seed's already been dropped in this region. This is not going to be a popular opinion, and I don't even think it will be with you. It was just something I thought about the other day when I was looking at the bracket. Like, we don't need to expand March Madness, but this is one of those regions that I would love to see a reseed here. And I know everybody's going to be like, leave March Madness alone. I'm not saying I think it would happen, but let's just play the game for a second. Why don't we? Houston would be playing Iowa, and then Illinois would be playing Nebraska. Like, these 4 teams that are left are all very unique in their styles here, but I really think this Illinois team is not scared to play this Houston team in a road game. So if I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at a 2.5 point spread, I'm not touching the total in this game. 139.5. It's there's too many wild cards in there.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the Illini with the points here to keep it a close game, and I also like the Illini on the money line tomorrow. What do you think about this one? Make a pick.
Yeah, I'm all in on the Illini, and I have been. I think they're going to be able to handle the pressure that Houston's going to put on them. Houston, I still question a little bit what they can do from an offensive standpoint. Not that this matters because they can suffocate you to death, but I think to me this is my one upset of tomorrow. My one big upset for tomorrow. If you want to really call it an upset, 3-2, not really, but yeah, I think the Illini win this one. I don't need the points, but I'll take them if you're given. But I don't need them.
This is scary. So there you go, folks. If you've watched the show long enough, your picks for tomorrow will be the under and Texas in the first game. You want Iowa in the second game. You want Arizona to cover in the third game, and you want Houston to cover in the fourth game. Because for somehow, some way, you and I just agreed on basically all 4 of these games, and that's scary.
It is,
but it might be the best piece of betting advice we could pass along to anybody. Speaking of betting advice, don't forget on Friday's show I'll be joined by Jared Smith. You've seen him on X, Fox Sports Radio, his pod the morning after. We're going to get into some of his thoughts on the remaining tournament as well as how to attack baseball season. I'm terrified now that we just agreed on all those.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. We both watch. You watch way more college basketball than I do, but we both watch a lot of college basketball, and I think especially now that we've got these teams, we kind of know what we've seen all year with these teams, and I think the information that we're giving is good stuff. We've really kind of digged into this, and like I said, we didn't talk about it before. It's always fun to kind of see what we do, but it's interesting that our patterns are the same because from a coaching standpoint in basketball, we're so different. But hey, what we see is what we see.
There's the rest of your Sweet 16 schedule on tomorrow's Lunchtime Live.
Oh,
T and I will pull out the magic coin and we'll try and make a parlay for Friday. But you can see it there on the upper left of that graphic. Those games in Washington on Friday. Holy shit. I can't wait to see those, as well as the games in Chicago. And this is
yeah.
one of the things I talked about. And you're not going to be on tomorrow's show, so I just wanted to get a couple of your general thoughts here. But those two matchups in Chicago, I think, are very fascinating. Michigan against Alabama and Tennessee against Iowa State. And the thing is, Mac, when we talk about this Michigan team going into that game against an Alabama team that, I'm not going to shy away from where I've stood on this one. I don't know how the hell they're here because they're about as inconsistent as any analogy you want to make there. But I think this is where we really see if the injury to LJ Kaysen for the Wolverines comes into
Right.
play because Alabama's going to force Michigan
Right.
into some tough pressure situations. What do you think of the 4 games tomorrow or the 4 games on Friday?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those things. Alabama, we've said it before. Like when they're playing well and shooting well, playing good, like they could be a championship team. They absolutely could. I just think Michigan's got too much for them. I just do. I just think Michigan, even with injuries, I think Michigan's just going to be too much for them. I love the Iowa State Tennessee game. I think that's a colorful game, isn't it? Those two uniforms. That's a
Yeah, right.
colorful. I don't know where to go with that. I mean the orange of Tennessee and I don't know what you'd call that, the yellow and kind of maize, if you will, of Iowa State. That's my uniform game. I'll go with that one. Um, and then the other two. I listen. Yeah, Homer me in one of them. You know that. Listen, I'm a Big East guy. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I can do. I mean, I would be silly to think that I wouldn't want a UConn St. John's matchup. I know nobody else probably wants that. I don't really care. I think it would be great. I mean, how could you not want another Hurley Patino matchup? The fourth time be the best time for a chance to go to the Final Four. Gosh, that would be great.
5-0, fourth inning, Giants and Yankees right now. My dad is not happy with Rob Manfred right now. That must run in the family. Still early. Logan Webb's still on the mound. We're in the, what are we in here? Let me look. New score
Top of the
bug, so I
fourth.
got to find it. Top of the fourth there. So, are you calling for an all Big East regional final
Oh,
from Washington?
absolutely, absolutely. I listen. I remember. Gosh, I can't remember the year, but I remember the year that the Big East had three of the four in the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what. I mean, I'm always going to root for the Big East teams, no matter what. And I'm a huge Rick Pitino fan. Always have been, always will be. I love what he does. I love everything that he does. So absolutely, I'm all in on the Johnnies, all in on the Huskies tomorrow.
I'm not even sure what this comment references from TJ right here. It might be the comment. It might be the comment that my dad just popped into the general. Here's an interesting, crazy but true fun fact here. Duke has never won a national championship without beating St. John's. And I went, there's no way that's possible. 1990,
What?
91, they beat St. John's by 17. 91, 92, they beat St. John's by 10. 2000, 2001, they beat the hell out of St. John's, 91-59. 09, 10, 80 to 71. 14, 15, 77, 68. TBD on the Sweet 16. But those coaches, man,
Wow.
we in this day and age of all these
Ugh.
back behind the scenes access, I almost said backdoor access. That was going to go down a road we didn't want to go down there. I would love to see the behind the scenes of Shire, Patino, Izzo, and freaking Dan Hurley. Man, that would be a special you could turn into TV. I am
Ugh.
hoping that we get something out of that, but I can't wait to see those games on Friday. Let's go into some more baseball as opening day full opening day is upon us tomorrow. We obviously mentioned the first game that you'll see on national TV tomorrow on NBC and Peacock. That is the Pirates and the Mets from New York, and quite the pitching matchup, Mac. We talked about our baseball preview last night and our thoughts on the season here. But Paul Skeens, and you got to come clean here. I've been asked this question too many times. If you missed our bold predictions, you'll see them tomorrow morning again. Do you want to, or are you going to make us wait another week on your bold prediction as it pertains to the Pittsburgh Pirates?
I need a week. Give me a week. Next week.
Why? Because you don't know who it is?
I do know. No, I know who it is. I'm just I'm a little nervous. It was pretty bold.
I'm interested to see how this game shakes itself out. I think on opening day, we're obviously jonesing for baseball. We want to see the home runs. We want to see run totals, yada, yada, yada. But I'm very interested to see this one play itself out here between the Pirates and the Mets, because obviously high expectations for the Mets. It's a new look for the Mets. As you heard last night in our baseball preview, a couple of us pretty bullish on this Pirates team. I'm very fascinated to see this game. And with these two pitchers here, I think it's going to be ridiculous. And somebody pointed this out. And if I can find it here, it's our guy Bill D on VSiN. And since you two suckers like to sucker me into these bets that annoy the shit out of me, especially yours in baseball season, ABS and how ABS changes the game here, and he points out in his recap. And if you don't get this, you should sign up for it. It comes to your email box every morning. It's great, kind of like signing up for our newsletter that comes out once a week, bikearanashow.com/links. But what bettors should watch with this full indoctrination of the ABS here? Rising walk rates, pitch count spikes, and teams in the past that have relied on elite framing from their catchers. All things that kind of take a betting angle to this new ABS system here. Do you think the ABS system is gonna jack up some of those bets, especially your favorite bet on pitcher outs?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because one of the things that I said is that the real good hitters know the strike zone. And, a lot of time, and we're no longer, it's no longer, the umpires. And we've heard all spring, every game that I've heard, that's all they've talked about is that, the umpires used to have a zone. It used to be way back in the American League when they had the chest protector, the balloon chest protector. They had one zone, and the National League had another zone. And then even now, like all these umpires, like like he's a pitcher's umpire, he's a hitter's umpire. He likes the high strike, he likes the low strike. He calls this. I mean, even now when I'm at the high school games, it's the same thing. Like you watch an umpire, and after about an inning, you kind of know, a pitch up here is not a strike, but he likes the one down here. I mean, umpires are like that. This takes it away. This 100% takes it away. It's like we are playing now with the strike zone. So it's going to make an absolute difference. I think you're going to see an uptick in on-base percentage. I think you're going to see an uptick in batting average because the better hitters are going to not swing at the pitchers they know aren't strikes, and it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, and I think obviously the key is whoever adjusts to this the fastest. And I think early in the season here, that gives you a nice little leg up. Another thing they brought up on the opening of tonight's broadcast, and again, the booth tonight I think is fantastic. Obviously, not listening to it right now, was able to listen to a little bit of the beginning, and I'll be able to catch the backside of this. But I'm interested to see when they have Rob Manfred in the booth with these guys tonight. Because one of the things that Matt Vasgersian talked about is the incredible weather, obviously being out on the West Coast, and why are we not playing more of these opening series throughout the first few weeks of the season on the West Coast and in the dome stadiums? Like, it seems as plain as friggin' day, but just like the NHL going back to a 1-8 playoff format seems as plain as day, we've got a commissioner that doesn't put two and two together here.
There was a segment of time where they did that. I remember that. And I don't remember exactly the years that they did it, but I just remember that that's how it was. If you had a dome stadium, you were going to open up. If you were on the West Coast or Texas, something like that, you were going to open up, and the other team was going to be on the road for a couple of weeks. I don't think that's a big deal. I mean, we're not talking about 5 or 6 games. It's baseball, as we know, is the marathon 162. You're going to go on the road and be home anyway. I mean, especially at the start of the season, you're coming out of spring training. You're on the road anyway. You've been on the road for the last 2 months. What's
Mhm.
another 2 weeks? I think it. Again, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it would be an easy fix.
Rest of baseball tomorrow. Obviously, Pirates and Mets, as we mentioned, starts it off. We've got the White Sox at the Brewers in Milwaukee. Shane Smith and your boy, the Miz, Jacob Mizorowski, on the
Yeah.
mound for the Brewers there. I'm interested to see how this Brewers team puts two and two together here from last year's incredible run that they were on. They're obviously a little dinged up when it comes to pitching. I think they have a guy in Milwaukee who could make a long shot run at National League MVP. I don't think he's going to get it, but Bryce Terang is a guy that I don't think a lot of people have put two and two together with this season or in his last couple of seasons, how good this guy is for Milwaukee. What are your thoughts on Sox and Brewers? Because the Sox have actually had a pretty productive and pretty decent offseason for a team in Chicago that might not be paper bag worthy this year. I don't think they're going to go anywhere in that tough division, but they might actually be competitive this year. Aaron Judge has now struck out 3 times at the arm of Logan Webb tonight. Cy Young, the winner, Logan Webb. I mean, never mind the fact that they're down 5-0. What do you make White Sox and Brewers tomorrow? Does that feed towards the top of your watch list?
Actually, it does because it's two teams that I'm really interested in. I want to see how the Brewers are going to adjust to another offseason where they've lost, another arm and they've made some trades. And and it's like now it's a new team again. We'll see what happens. And I'm excited about this White Sox team. I gave you a name yesterday, Kyle Teal.
Mm-hmm.
I think the White Sox finally made some good choices and made steps in the right direction. Again, I don't think I don't. I'm going to put it this way. Here's my second bold prediction. I don't think the White Sox are going to be in last place. I think they're going to get out of last place this year.
Interesting.
I like what they did. Again, they spent some money. They did a lot of every move that they made this winter was a positive move, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just something we haven't seen.
I've seen a couple early bets on Munataka to A, lead the
Yeah.
American League in homers, and B, a lot of people calling for him to hopefully be in the home run derby and win the home run derby this year. Nationals and Cubs from Wrigley, about 11:20 for us West Coasters here. 58 degrees in Chicago. Cade Cavalli on the bump for the Nats, and another guy I think is going to make a serious run, potentially at National League Cy Young, in Matt Boyd for the Cubs. Nationals and Cubs tomorrow. Always a good day when it's opening day at Wrigley.
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with being, at Wrigley. No Ivy yet, but listen, again, that's another interesting team in the Nationals. Um, what are we going to get from the Nationals? Again, we saw the last couple of years they've started to build a lot of good young talent, Abrams and whatnot, and Wood there. It'd be interesting to see if they can make a tick up. Again, they were somewhat quiet in this offseason. They didn't really do a whole lot. So it'll be interesting to see what the Nationals can do. Again, they lost some of their pitching as well. So I'm a little down on the Nationals this year, but still, they from an offensive standpoint, they're not bad.
Wins and O's from Oriole Park at Camden Yards. The guy you picked to win the AL Cy Young,
Yes.
Joe Ryan. Trevor Rogers actually gets the ball on opening day for the Orioles here. I think there's a lot of anticipation for what's to make of this Orioles team. I think it's a well-rounded lineup. I think it's a very underrated pitching staff. And we know the pitching has kind of been the Achilles heel for the Orioles. I mean, I'm interested to see this one tomorrow. It'll probably get second screen action here from me, but the Twins, they are what they are. I think, you're sitting here talking about uh, the White Sox not finishing in last in that division. I would assume that your placement of last in that division would then go to the Twins, which makes the uphill battle for Joe Ryan to win the Cy Young Award even more impressive if he can do it. But I'm fascinated to see this Orioles team and how they jump out of the gates. And I can't wait to see what I'm assuming is going to be a very relaxed and peaceful version of our guy, the polar bear, Pete Alonso.
This Baltimore team is scary. I mean, they are from both standpoints, from a pitching standpoint and from an offensive standpoint. You're right. It's going to be interesting to see how Pete Alonso makes and extends out that Orioles lineup. Listen, we all know about Baltimore. We'll say it one last time. They had a crappy year. They had injuries. They had just nothing seemed to work. Gunnar didn't get off to a good start. Holiday was still young. This is a really, really good offensive team. That American League East. You want to talk about a big East. That East is going to be something interesting. You win that East and you win the American League East. Yeah, Taylor Ward. I mean, it's going to be an accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. A team that always opens at home. I heard something interesting that I couldn't believe, and you'd think I would have known this as a Giants fan. And I know the reasoning why the Giants have typically opened on the road. This is only the sixth time in the history of Oracle Park that it is named now. I'm sure 3 different times this year will have a different name. This is only the sixth time that the Giants have opened at home. A team that never opens on the road, the Cincinnati Reds, hosting. Mm-hmm. So we've got Red Legs and Red Sox, and we've got a hell of a pitching matchup in Garrett Crochet and Andrew Abbott.
All right. Well, here we go. Day one, game one for the Bo Sox. I think they're a good enough team to not only win the East but win the whole thing, and it's going to start with this pitching staff with Garrett Crochet. I mean, he easily could have won the Cy Young last year. He could easily win it again this year. Hadn't had a really good spring. Again, spring is one of those things you never know. There's so many guys, we've seen it before. David Ortiz hated the spring, and his career ended up pretty darn good. But I think I love this matchup. Of course, Cincinnati always, you said, like, opens up at home. The Red Sox, that's a fun matchup against, and we just don't. Again, I'm putting all kinds of question marks all around the Cincinnati Reds because I just don't know what to expect out of them. If their pitching gets a little bit better and their offense a little better, this is a team that could. I think they could battle for the Central title with Chicago. But again, we said that last year, and they just didn't step up. But Terry's going to take care of things. We know he's going to take care of things there.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one goes. Dakin Park in Houston. We'll see Jose Soriano and the Angels without their broadcasters on the road because Artie Moreno's cheap ass against the Astros, another team that has a lot of question marks around them. In the gas can, Hunter Brown taking the opening day start for the Stros. I'm fascinated to see what becomes of this Houston team this season. I'm also fascinated to see how quickly Houston starts making moves on this team. And one of the guys that we've heard is probably a high likelihood to get traded here fairly quickly and early into the season. And this makes it even more fascinating for me is Isaac Paredes of the Astros here. I don't know if I'm big on this Astros team, and we've talked about the Astros several times over the last few years, and every time we think they're done for the season, they make a huge run and come back into the mix. I don't have a lot of confidence in this Houston team.
No, they've kind of, in a way, been like Tampa Bay. It's like every year you hear about Tampa Bay, they lose their best pitcher, they lose their best hitter, they traded away this guy, they got a bunch of young guys, and then all of a sudden, boom, they go and win the AL East. I think it's kind of been the same with Houston over the last couple of years. It seems like I don't know. Has it been that Houston? That nobody's wanted to win the West, and Houston just said, okay, well, if nobody wants to win the West, we'll just win the damn thing, or is it that they've been that good? I think it's kind of been the latter. I think it's other teams just haven't stepped up. I think Seattle has definitely stepped up. I think we're going to see Houston take a step back this year. And I say that, and then they'll probably win the damn West, but I just don't see it in this team.
TJ's watching tonight, and I think he's slipping, or he actually is following the moratorium on trash can jokes for the Astros, because we just got through a whole Astros conversation and nothing from him. Petco, my second favorite ballpark in the Bigs, and that's going to see Tarek Skubal and the Tigers against Nick Pivetta, TJ's pick to win the Cy Young. That is a 1:10 West Coast time game, MLB.TV and MLB Network tomorrow. You guys thought I was speaking with... There he is, right on cue. He's following the moratorium. You guys thought I was speaking with two heads last night. I think the Padres team gets sold early in the season, and I think they win the West. But great matchup tomorrow, Pivetta and Skubal.
Yeah, this is a good one. Favorite park, Petco, not on my top 5 list. I'll just kind of tell you that. But I'm really, again, high on this.
How can you not like? Are you allergic to fun? How do you not like Petco Park?
Um, I don't like. Okay, so when I go to games, I always keep score. That's one of the things I always do. I love to keep score, and so I look at it from the full fan experience. To me, Petco is just hard to get around. And not that I move around a lot, but just it's a hard place to kind of get from one place to another. It really is. Listen, I go to Fenway Park. I take 10 steps. I can go from the first base side to the third base side. You know, Petco. I need to rent a taxi to go from right field to.
Jesus.
It's just one of those things. It's not in my top five.
TJ, we know we got one less on the trip to Petco there because Mac will get
Hey,
too congested walking around.
I didn't
We
say I
need
would
you to go on the trip to Petco with us because if you let me and TJ loose in the gas
Right.
lamp, we need a responsible adult with us.
All right.
You have to like Petco enough to go with
Okay.
us.
I didn't say I didn't like. I just said it wasn't in my top five. That's all. Jeez.
Let's go to a game that I definitely don't care about tomorrow, but it's on the schedule, so we'll mention it briefly. The Tampa Bay Rays at Busch Stadium to take on the St. Louis Cardinals. Drew Rasmussen and local guy Matthew Liberatore on the mound for the Cardinals. I think this Cardinals team, Mac, I've been pretty dialed when it comes to this. I think this Cardinals team might actually be one of the worst teams in baseball this year.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't usually happen, but I think Cardinals fans are going to actually need to get the lineup card and figure out who actually is on that team. They've had so many changes, most of them with the Boston Red Sox, so you could just kind of get the Red Sox, old roster and probably fill it out. But yeah, I mean, two teams, a lot of question marks. I like some of the Rays' young players, as I've said, but I think these are two teams that are going to be in for a long haul in the 162.
And the game a lot of people out here are interested in is Dodgers and Diamondbacks. This will be your second game on NBC and Peacock tomorrow, and the debut of NBC's new lead voice, Jason Benetti, in the booth with Oral Hershiser and Luis Gonzalez in this one. There's a lot of people high on this Diamondbacks team. I am not one of them. I think this might end up being one of the worst top to bottom pitching staffs in all of baseball, but it's going to be Zach Gallen returning to the Diamondbacks, even though he kind of never left the Diamondbacks, against Yoshinobu Yamamoto tomorrow night from Dodger Stadium.
Here,
What is with this Diamondbacks team? Is it the offense? Is it because you spent a lot of time down here in the Valley? Because UNT were high on both the Rangers and the Diamondbacks. Not super high on the Diamondbacks. I'm not trying to say you thought they'd win the World Series as you're drinking out of, is that a Kettle Marte cup?
David Peralta.
Oh, that is an old school cup. I
Yeah.
saw your cup collection when I was hanging out with the McKenzie clan while you guys were on a boat in the middle of the Atlantic or whatever, and your cup collection is... We need to actually, once we settle you in your new casa here, into your permanent broadcasting studio, we might need to do some shelving and get your
Cups up
cup
there.
display up there. Between
Absolutely.
you and TJ, I don't think there's a stadium cup that hasn't been got from you two guys. Diamondbacks,
true.
Dodgers. We know, obviously, we could sit here and talk about the Dodgers until we're blue in the face. Blue in the face. I don't get why people are high on this Diamondback team because this pitching staff screams nothing but torture to me if I'm a Diamondback fan.
I just think their offense is good. Listen, one thing we know about the D-backs is they've never had a good bullpen. It's one of those things. It's for whatever reason they can never seem to figure it out. I still think their starting pitching's all right. Here's what I will tell you. They're going to go into LA and probably sweep the Dodgers because they always play the Dodgers really, really well. So
True.
they're going to start the season off 3-0, and then we'll kind of see what happens from there.
It's a totally valid point. I mean, even better when like Paul Goldschmidt was or Christian Walker more so
Right.
was still a Diamondback there. But I'm interested to see how the Dodgers handle the regular season. Obviously, they've already got a couple pitchers injured, which is par for the course with the Dodgers here. But I don't know if this Diamondback team offensively is good enough to carry them through. And I'll make a second bold prediction, if you will, for the Major League Baseball season here.
Sure.
I don't think Ketel Marte is a Diamondback by the trade deadline. I think that thing is going to.
Ooh.
I think they're gonna be in a position because they're asking a lot out of a pitching staff that I don't think is very good. That I could see the Diamondbacks making a late run to try and push for a wild card, but I think Marte and if you want a spot, I'll give you a spot. I think Ketel Marte ends up in New York with the Mets as well.
I didn't want to hear that. I was
Nobody in
hoping
Arizona does.
I know.
But I'm interested
Well,
to see how that would be received, though, too, because based on what happened last year, depending on the Diamondback fan you talk to, I think it's kind of 50-50. I think another guy, Mac, that's gravely important for the success of this Diamondbacks team is what do they get out of Jerry Perdomo this year? Because he carried them to staying in the race last year. If he goes back to just a little above average Geraldo Perdomo, that's a bad thing for this Diamondback team.
Yeah, I mean, he really is. He really was the main cog in this. And here's the thing. I mean, I think Corbin Carroll's got to have a little bit of a rebound kind of a year as well. He did not have the year that we expected from him. So I think he's going to get better. I think that'll definitely help. But it's interesting. I know if you talk to the five Diamondbacks fans about, Marte, you're right. I think a lot of people started to sour on him, but I don't know how you could do that. I mean, the guy's not probably, he is the best second baseman probably in baseball.
I think if you take Shohei Ohtani out of the National League, Ketel Marte is a guy that would be at the top of a lot of people's MVP lists at the beginning of the year. I think this Diamondback season is going to be very fascinating. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Dodgers way more than anybody wants to, but they're the elephant in the room, and until somebody takes them down, which hopefully is somebody this year, they're going to be the topic of conversation. Our final game on opening day will take us up to T-Mobile Park in Seattle, Washington, the great, beautiful Pacific Northwest, for your soon-to-be American League champion Mariners, with Logan Gilbert on the mound against the Guardians, another team that's much like the Brewers. What are we going to get out of them? They're going to rule out Tanner Bybee on opening night. I think this is a really good game to finish the night with Guards and Mariners here, as the Giants play Keystone Cops and look like the Bad News Bears again.
Yeah, I mean, this is the opportunity for Seattle. We've said it, in our preseason picks. I mean, you like them to win. I think they're a wild card team. I'm a little worried about Cal Raleigh. I mean, he had a really, really good year. There's no way I think he's going to be able to back that up with, another monster year. So that worries me a little bit, because the one thing about Seattle, that their pitching wasn't great last year, and actually their offense was kind of a little bit of a struggle. I think Julio Rodriguez is kind of a key to them. He needs to kind of step up a little bit. We've heard a lot about him, and he just, to me, hasn't put up the numbers he needs to put up. And I think Arozarena too. He's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. He's been good, but not as good as I expect him to be.
Yeah, and I think the other reason too, and I don't think you're wrong in anything you said there. I think the other reason I'm so bullish on this Mariners team, and I talked about it last night, the Donovan acquisition and the consistency. But you're looking at three guys in their farm system that I guarantee you're going to see this year, and Colt Emerson and Cade Anderson and Ryan Sloan. Their farm system, not everybody, because this is why people are like, oh, the Dodgers just win because they buy everybody. No, the Dodgers know how to develop players too. Mm-hmm. There's another part to this. The Mariners are right there with them, and I think those three guys, and Emerson, Anderson, and Sloan, you're going to end up seeing at probably at least all three of them at one point this year. I think the depth of their farm system can afford them the opportunity to kind of get through some of these injuries, and I think the vibe on the Mariners and the vibe in the Pacific Northwest from a sports standpoint, I mean, the Kraken playing great hockey this year. We're a matter of weeks, I think, away from the Supersonics coming back. We know the Seahawks are the defending champions. The Mariners won the West last year. And if you talk to a Mariners fan, they'll go, yeah, we've been good a lot, but that doesn't mean anything. I think this is finally the year that this team kind of pushes themselves through. You're real big on Jose Ramirez. You've been real big on this Guardians team. We're both real big on Stephen Vogt. What do you make of the Guardians this year? Because obviously, if you followed our baseball preview show last night, I know you did because you were on the damn thing, but there's the Tigers, there's the Royals. I think the Guardians are still kind of being slept on a little bit here, and every time it seems like we sleep on the Guardians, they end up right in the mix at the end of the year. I don't know if I love them this year.
I mean, I think it's the same thing. It's like there's a couple of teams. We talk about like Tampa Bay. We kind of throw them out with the trash at the beginning of the year, and they end up being right there. I mean, I think it's the same thing with the Guardians. But it just seems like again, same with the Brewers. I think at some point there's only so much you can take away from a team, and then it just kind of loses the integrity. And I think they might be at that point where they've lost just too much in the integrity. I think losing Naylor is a big deal to me. I think he was as we saw in Seattle. He does so many good things there, not just numbers wise, but I think for that team, I think that's going to be a bigger loss not having him the whole year.
Yeah, I do agree with you there. So full day of opening day baseball. Everybody but the Giants and Yankees playing tomorrow, which again, I don't get me started on that nonsense. Hey, Rob Manfred's in the booth. I wonder if he was listening to us before that. I can't wait to hear what the hell he's saying right now, because I can guarantee you I'm not going to like most of what he's saying. But on tomorrow's program, TJ and I are going to put 3 teams, players, managers, whatever the case may be, on the immediate hot stove for this year. Teams that we're expecting to see things out of. The Magic Coin comes back as far as Friday's Sweet 16 games go. A couple of things to clean up here on this Wednesday night, which is not normally the place where we do Ticket Wednesday, because it's called Ticket Tuesday for a reason, but we had to get through all that last night. Mac, there's plenty of stuff to go through here. Blow the dust out of your wallet. Tell me where we're finding values here.
Man, oh man. All right, here we go. Let's start on the hardwood. We're going NBA. This is a great matchup for $6. Ready? Hold on to your socks. Washington at Utah. No. How about that same $6? We could watch Houston and Memphis. Memphis, remember, that's our place. Houston at Memphis. Most expensive ticket was this one tonight. Oklahoma City at Boston, $98 for that one. So again, if you're going to open your wallet and go to a game, tonight's game would have been kind of a good one. You know what? NHL, again, something going on with Boston. Most expensive ticket coming up here in the next couple of days. Saturday, Minnesota at Boston. We talked about how big a game that could be. So that is a good one. I won't tell you where we could go for the cheapest NHL place, because last week you guys just tore me apart. But it's the same place, but you'd get to see the Ducks in a dome. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Are they playing Calgary?
Yeah.
That building is an abomination. I can't wait till it's gone.
Look around Major League Baseball, see what we could find. Of course, Arizona and LA, $193 if you want to kind of go there for that opening day. Cheapest one, though, Saturday, Tampa Bay and St. Louis. Miami at Colorado, right around the $20 mark. So nothing yet. Just give baseball another week or two, and we'll start to get into those single digits. And since we didn't have a whole lot of cheap stuff, I went last week. I asked you about Bruno Mars, so I figured I'd throw another concert out at you. Now I'm going to set it up.
Wrong guy on the show. You're supposed to do that when TJ's here.
I know, but this is a good one. Listen, I could get you behind the stage for $73 for this guy. Or I get you on the side where you could actually see this person for $116. You ready? You ready? Think about this.
Go ahead.
It's coming up down by you in April on the 16th, a Thursday night. Bruce Springsteen. Oh, you're thinking about it. See?
No, I'm not thinking about it, because
come on,
it doesn't do anything for me.
You don't want to see the boss?
No, because I'm not old like you two are on this show.
Oh man,
I'm not. I've never really been. You guys,
look at yes.
We went through my concert history in my life. War, P. Diddy, before all the other nonsense with P. Diddy, Mudvayne and Disturbed, and George Strait. That's the lineage of Mike's concert going.
Don't tell my wife George Strait. Oh, I get in trouble.
I've been meaning to ask her about that story since you won't tell me a million freaking times, and I keep forgetting.
So I will tell you. So we were going. She loves George Strait. I like country. I I was at that point where I was just kind of getting
TJ
into.
doesn't know anything about the Bruce Springsteen stuff. Not that he's looked
Oh
it up
no.
already, obviously.
I was just kind of getting into country music, and so I, of course, went. We get there. Of all the things that, of all the concerts and all the shows that I go to, we get there, and I don't know how this happened. But the lady comes up to us and, oh, hey, guess what? We're going to upgrade your seats. Excellent. I get to upgrade my seats to go see George Strait. I'm so excited. I will tell you, I don't remember what it was, if it was a hockey game or a basketball game. It might have even been a baseball game, but I spent just about the entire night on my phone watching the game. Um, don't
What
remember
is
much about the.
wrong with you? It's the king
Well,
of country music.
yeah, but my thing was he stayed. He stood in the same spot the entire night. He didn't move.
Because he's
I didn't.
old. You should
Well,
appreciate that.
but I know, but I'm used to like concert like. And Jen was like, well, he doesn't need to move. He's like you said, the whatever of country. It, I have a little more appreciation now. I probably appreciate it a little bit more, but at that time in my life, I was tuned out.
We're going to have to rethink your future on this program if you're talking shit about the king of country music. Do you have no appreciation for a steel guitar?
Steel guitar. I don't.
A steel guitar. It's
I know.
incredible.
He just stood there all night. Like I didn't
Oh,
miss anything. There was nothing to watch. He stood right there.
so you're saying George Strait would be a big believer and huge fan of Petco Park because you just stand there and you can't get anywhere?
Probably. I don't know.
Jesus.
Let's get
I
on
don't
Liquid
know.
Locks.
I don't know how I do this with you sometimes. We've been
That's
doing this for over 3 years. That's amazing that we've made it this damn far. A couple of scores to pass along in the NBA. Celtics up 7 on the Thunder in Boston with 2
nice.
minutes left. And fraud alert. The Atlanta Hawks win another game, 130-129 over the Pistons in
Undermanned.
overtime. Man, we've got
Yeah.
some real trash-ass games coming up tonight. We've got Mavericks and Nuggets, Nets and Warriors, Bucks and Blazers, Raptors and Clippers. Lakers get another win. Actually, it
Goodness.
took them some work tonight. 137-130 to knock off the Pacers. Here's the only thing you need to know. Luke Kennard needed 8.5 points. He finished at 8. You son of a bitch. All right, let's go into some liquid locks here, some best bets. I tasked Mac with a specific for this one this week, and then I changed it on the fly, which I didn't even have time to tell him before we started the show. So I said, hey, let's get a Thursday game, let's get a
Yeah.
Friday game from College Hoops, and then let's go top 10 for this week's Texas Houston Children's Open, however the right
I-
order is to say it. I
Yeah.
changed it to top 10 or top 20 because I found great value there. So I'll start us off here. I like Texas and Purdue over the 147.5. We talked about that earlier. Again, tomorrow we'll get into the Friday games, but I do like Iowa State minus 3.5. I am all over TJ Altenberger right now on that Cyclones team, even with the up in the air status of Joshua Jefferson. And then I like Brooks Koepka in Houston for a top 20 finish, which I found it plus money for him to go top 20. So those three together, again, we play parlays for fun on this show. Don't advise it. They are fun bets. Mitigate your bankroll when it's coming to them. But those three together, Texas, Purdue over 147.5, Iowa State minus 3.5, and Brooks Koepka for a top 20 finish in Houston. That's a plus 602. I was very happy with the value there. Give me what you got. Liquid lock style from Vegas, Mac. I am chomping at the bit to drop out some dollar dingers, but we have not had a home run yet tonight in San Francisco.
I'm not. I'm not too surprised on that. All right. All right. So I went. Listen, I kind of went kind of just casual with this. I think my best bet for tomorrow. I like Illinois plus the 2.5. For me, I think that's the best bet. For me, I like that. That's my liquid lock for that. On Friday, I went with Iowa State minus the 3.5.
Smart man.
I found this. Listen,
Uh-oh. Here we
I,
go.
yeah, I always like to find something interesting. The baseball, the innings and whatnot. And so I had some time last week over break, and got watching. Oh, actually, it was the week of the players, and
Okay.
you just start going around it and looking things. And I saw these really, really cool, and they've been probably going on for a while. But I didn't, I'm kind of new to a lot of this betting and stuff. But I thought this was really, really cool. So I'm going to give you my big pick for this week. If you go on to certain things, you can pick winners, and they don't have to win the tournament. They just have to be the top by region, top American, top player from the UK and Ireland. I didn't know this was a thing. This is an amazing. This is something fun. I am all in on this, Mike. I listen. I stayed
If you
away
pick
from
a golfer from Switzerland, you're finishing the show. I'm just gonna walk off.
no. I'm gonna go. You want to know my top Danish golfer? No, I'm just joking.
Not your breakfast order, your best bet for golf.
Listen, I went top American this week. I'm looking. I really liked him. I wanted to pick him. I couldn't pick him, so I'm looking on here. Top guy from the U.S. plus 2,600. Wyndham Clark.
If you saw Mike versus Mac today,
yes.
He is one of my guys this week.
But I think that's a fun pick. I think that's a fun way to go about it. I'm going to try it this week. I'm going to go top American. Next week, maybe I'll go top Englishman. There's just so many. It's kind of fun. And
unofficially sponsored by Thomas's.
But listen, I had one other thing that I needed to talk to you about before I go, and it's my
serious. I'm not ready for a serious. My team is getting their asses kicked on opening day. I'm not ready for a serious conversation.
Well, it's not. You don't even have to. Just do me a favor. Just look left. Last week, I picked Tyler Reddick to win, and you know what? Guess what, Mike? He won. I am on a 1 week winning streak in my NASCAR bets. So I want to give you my bet for this week because I have to look it up because I don't remember. Oh yeah, Ross Chastain. That's my winner for this week. I went actually in the top 10, but that's okay. So I'm feeling the NASCAR love right now.
Is Rachel okay that you picked Ross Chastain?
Yeah. He's pretty good.
Knew it. If I gave you an opening,
I know
you drafted me right to that one.
I like what you did there. Yeah,
see, I know a little bit more about circle track racing than you think.
Short track this week. I think it's 400 laps. I think my son was telling me.
Where are we at? In the middle of nowhere, Alabama. I do. I'll give you this from a NASCAR standpoint. Love watching the race at Talladega. Why do you think I love watching the race at Talladega?
You love the absolute speed collisions.
That's exactly it, man. It's like watching NFL with tires. Mike versus Mac picks this week. My group: Wyndham Clark, Adam Scott, Marco Penge. Mac went with Jake Knapp, my boy, Tony Finau, and Sahith Theegala. Did you see Tiger last night on the TGL finals?
Yeah, he did all right. Yeah, he played okay. He didn't really play great. He played all right. Missed a lot of putts. So,
it's true.
Aaron
Judge just took the golden sombrero on opening night, by the way.
Gosh, there you go. Hey, by the way, just to answer your question, 400 laps, Ridgeway, Virginia. It's at Martinsville.
Oh, yeah. I know that place well. I've flown over it probably 9 million times. Didn't even realize it was there. I'm going to put you on the spot here as we finish the show up tonight.
Let's do it.
We didn't talk about it. All right. I hate this because everybody's caught on to the fact that Tyler O'Neill is Mr. Opening Day Homer, so I'm not betting him to homer tomorrow. So there you go. You're welcome. Yeah. Bet on him to homer. He's going to homer again. Blind luck here. Give me a home run hitter tomorrow. And you can take a big name guy because obviously we don't know the lineups, but give me a home run hitter tomorrow. Let's start the season off with some positive chicks dig the long ball momentum.
All right. Well, here's what I'm going to do. I'm trying to think of a place where home runs get hit, and one immediately comes to mind. I'm going to say Jarren Duran.
If TJ's still watching, I know there's going to be a comment coming flying in here right now about Jarren Duran homering. All right.
I mean,
I'll play.
They're in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a place where home runs are as common as hot dogs.
Very true. I am going to go with Bryce Harper. I think we get the party started at the bank right away.
All
By the
right.
way, we talked about the 999 challenge, and there's like 13 ballparks doing it now. Have you seen the bullshit that they're pulling with that?
No.
So they give you a tall boy can of beer and 9 mini hot dogs in these little tiny. They basically look like wine sifters, snifters. I'm not a wine drinker, obviously, could care less. This one can doesn't even fill up all 9 of the cups for it. Like, so if you want to do the 999 challenge, and obviously we're not condoning getting blackout drunk here, but if you're giving me one 24-ounce beer, I kind of feel like that's degrading to the 999 challenge, especially when some of these ballparks are charging $55 for this. Now it remains to be seen. The talk on the streets, the word on the streets is my trip to Kansas City in July that I'm going to try the 999 challenge, but I'm going to do it my way, where I feel like I should at least, okay, I shouldn't have to drink 12-ounce beers. I should at least have to do a 10-ounce beer and a regular sized hot dog. I think we've bastardized the 999 challenge now. And there's 13 ballparks that have added this in Major League Baseball this year. It's
Well,
criminal.
you know why they don't want people, losing their shit literally, doing these challenges,
9 hot
So,
dogs will make you lose your shit, literally.
so I think that's probably why they're doing it. It's kind of a protection basis. But I was going to say, you know what? Maybe for next week, just for you, I'm going to go around. I'm going to look at a couple of ballparks, and I'm going to come up with a couple of creative, different 999s that we could talk about. How
Oh,
about that?
we can
Mark
definitely
me
do that
down.
because you know what else is coming up on the docket for us? Rory McIlroy has announced his Champions Dinner
Oh
menu
yeah,
at the Masters, and I told
I
you about this a
heard
couple
that.
of years ago. And graphically, I was not so inclined to create this. Hall of Famer, hear what I just said, Barry Bonds in the booth right now with Matty Vass, Hunter Pence, and CC Sabathia. We are going to create our own Masters menus as if we were the defending champions of the Masters.
Oh,
So when the Masters comes up, which is only 2 weeks away, it'll be the return of golf legend of lore on this show, our very own TJ. It's his next time to make golf picks on the show. But we are going to come up with our own Masters menus. So you
nice.
find
All
our
right.
999 for me, and our Masters menus coming up. Any final words for you on your go home show for the week, Vegas Mac? What do you got?
Uh, I'm just going to repeat what I said last night. Two big matchups Thursday and Friday between the University of Connecticut and Michigan State. Hockey tomorrow at Worcester for a trip to the regional final, and then of course the big one on the hard court. So we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to some good basketball over the next couple of days.
Chaz Chisholm is a walking comedy show right now. You got to check this one out when you get done. Line drive hit to him that he bobbled and caught, and his reaction was absolutely priceless right now. Tomorrow on the program, Sweet 16 games for Friday. TJ and I are going to put 3 teams, players, and or coaches on their proverbial hot seats for Major League Baseball. On Friday's program, I'll be joined by Jared Smith, our guy. Follow him on X, Jared Smith Bets. Also follow his podcast the morning after. We're going to talk about how to attack baseball season and how to kind of approach the rest of the college basketball season. So for Vegas Mac, for TJ, for everybody behind the scenes, I'm Mike. Happy baseball, everybody. You know the drill.
Yay!